Eli was 14. Average grades, average hobbies, average everything. He showed up to school, went home, watched videos, repeated. And every night, he'd scroll through his phone, watching other people's lives bloom while his stayed frozen. Why doesn't anyone care about me? He tried being funnier, louder. He bought a new jacket, changed his hair. Nothing worked. His parents noticed. His mother would ask, "How was school?" And he'd lie, "Fine." But it wasn't fine. In the cafeteria, groups formed around him like he was a rock in a river. The water just moved past. One girl, Sarah, was kind to everyone. She'd smile at janitors, hold doors, remember names. Eli watched her. Everyone loved Sarah. He thought, what does she have that I don't? One Saturday, walking through the town square, he noticed an old woman tending a garden. Her plot was small but stunning. Roses, herbs, vegetables bursting with color. People stopped to admire it, to compliment her, to ask questions. Curious, Eli approached. "Everyone loves your garden," he said quietly. She smiled, hands deep in soil. "That's because I love it first." She held up a tiny seed between her fingers. It's nothing right now. But if I water it, feed it, protect it, it becomes something people can't ignore." She looked at him with eyes that seemed to see straight through him. "What are you growing, child?" Eli opened his mouth, closed it. He had no answer. That night, her question haunted him. What am I growing? He thought about his days, his habits, his skills. He couldn't name a single thing he was developing. No talent he was nurturing, no skill he was sharpening, no passion he was feeding. He was a seed that refused to sprout. He was waiting to be loved without becoming lovable. And that's when he realized people don't love potential, they love progress. The next morning, Eli made a decision. He'd plant his own seed. He chose drawing, something he'd always wanted to try but never committed to. Day 1, he sketched for 15 minutes. It looked terrible. Day 2, worse. Day 3, he wanted to quit. "This is pointless. I'm still invisible." He almost threw the sketchbook in the trash. But that weekend, he saw the gardener again. Her plot had been destroyed by a storm. Flowers crushed, soil scattered everywhere. Yet there she was, on her knees, replanting every single seed. "Doesn't it hurt?" Eli asked, voice cracking. "Starting over?" She didn't look up, just kept digging. Growth isn't about perfection, boy. It's about showing up when no one's watching. She paused, wiped her brow, and then she said something that would change his life forever. She dusted off her hands and looked him dead in the eye. "You're not unloved because you're unworthy. You're unseen because you're unchanged." People are drawn to growth, to energy, to someone who's becoming something. When you stop developing, you stop radiating. And when you stop radiating, she gestured to the empty space around him, you disappear. She handed him a small seed. "Plant this, not in soil, in yourself. Water it every single day. In 3 months, come back and tell me what bloomed." Eli went home that night and opened his sketchbook. And this time, he made a deal with himself. 15 minutes, every single day, no matter what. No matter how bad it looked, no matter who was watching, no matter how he felt. Day 7, he drew a tree. It looked like a child's drawing. Day 14, slightly better, still embarrassing. Day 21, a classmate saw his sketch during math class. "You draw?" It was the first time someone had asked him a question in months. That night, Eli felt something he hadn't felt in years. Interest. Someone was curious about him. Day 30, he posted a drawing online. 5 likes. Then 10. Then 20. Day 45, a girl from his English class messaged him. "I didn't know you were an artist. This is really beautiful." Eli stared at the message for 5 full minutes. Someone saw him. Day 60, 3 people sat with him at lunch. Not because he begged, not because he changed his clothes or his hair, because they were curious about his art, about his progress, about him. For the first time in his life, Eli wasn't chasing connection. Connection was chasing him. By month 3, the school announced an art show. Eli's hand shook when he saw the flyer. His work still wasn't perfect. There were students who'd been drawing for years, but he remembered the gardener on her knees in the mud, replanting after the storm. Growth isn't about perfection. It's about showing up. He submitted a piece, a self-portrait, not of who he was, but who he was becoming. The night of the show, his parents came. Sarah came. Even some teachers he'd never spoken to showed up. 47 people stopped at his work. Not because it was the best in the show, but because they could feel the journey in every line, the growth, the transformation. 3 weeks later, Eli was asked to design the cover for the yearbook. He joined the art club, 12 members who became real friends. And Sarah? She didn't just message him anymore. They ate lunch together, studied together. She introduced him to her friends. By the end of the semester, Eli had sold 5 commissioned drawings for $25 each. $125. But more valuable than money, he had something he'd never had before: momentum. People didn't just love him now. They were inspired by him because he'd planted a seed in himself and refused to let it die. But here's where the story gets deeper, because there's someone else you need to meet, someone who teaches us what happens when you don't plant that seed, when you wait too long, when you convince yourself it's too late. Story 2, The Man Who Waited. His name was David. He was 42 years old, and he was Eli's father. Nobody knew this, not even Eli, but David had once been exactly like his son. Invisible, unremarkable, waiting for life to happen to him. When David was 19, he had a dream. He wanted to be a writer. He'd filled notebooks with stories, poems, ideas that made his heart race at 2 a.m. His English teacher had pulled him aside senior year and said, "David, you have a gift. Don't waste it." But David was afraid the stories weren't good enough, afraid people would laugh, afraid he'd fail. So he told himself, "I'll do it later, when I have more time, when I'm ready." He got a job at a warehouse, temporary, he said, just until I figure things out. 23 years passed. The notebooks gathered dust in a closet. The gift withered. And David became a ghost in his own life. His wife loved him, but she didn't understand him. How could she? He didn't understand himself anymore. His coworkers respected him, but nobody really knew him. And his son, Eli, barely spoke to him. Because how do you connect with someone who stopped becoming a long time ago? David would come home exhausted. Microwave dinner, watch TV, sleep. Repeat. On his 40th birthday, his wife threw him a small party. 12 people came, family mostly, a few coworkers out of obligation. And as David sat there watching people eat cake and make small talk, he realized something horrifying. If I disappeared tomorrow, would anyone really miss me? Not the role I play, not the paycheck I bring home. Me, the person inside this body. He didn't think so. That night, alone in his garage, David found the old notebooks. He opened one, read a story he'd written at 19, and he cried. Not because the story was good or bad, but because he recognized the person who wrote it. Someone full of fire, curiosity, hope. Someone he'd buried alive. He thought about his son Eli, about the distance between them. And he realized Eli doesn't ignore me because he's a teenager. He ignores me because there's nothing in me worth noticing. I stopped growing. And when you stop growing, you stop glowing. The next morning, David did something he hadn't done in 23 years. He wrote. Just one page. It felt awkward, rusty, like learning to walk again. But he didn't stop. Day 2, 1 page. Day 7, 2 pages. Day 30, he'd written a complete short story. He didn't tell anyone. This was his secret garden. But something started to change. At work, people noticed. You seem different, David, lighter. At home, his wife noticed. You're smiling more.